Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking through some player props I like on Prizepicks for the Week 6 Monday Night Football game between the Cowboys and the Chargers. This is a really exciting Monday night game. I'm definitely going to be tuning into this one. I think this is going to be one of the better primetime games we've had this season. The primetime games this year have been pretty bad. A lot of them have been really just ugly, low scoring, just not fun to watch. But I think this is a game that should be somewhat of a shootout. We got a really high total in this game, 51 total. I think the Cowboys are favored by 1.5, so it's a close spread as well. And I got some player props I like in this game, guys. I got two props I like that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about these two plays like we always do, break them down, kind of give why I like the plays. But before we do that, as always, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, make sure you hit that like button down below. I do always appreciate the likes. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as well if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel and if you are new to Prizepicks, if you have never checked out Prizepicks before, you can actually sign up, use my promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you do sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code. So be sure to check them out, make a deposit, use that code so you do get your first deposit matched up to $100. And also, I do want to give a quick shout out to Sleeper because we are partnered up with Sleeper. And if you guys have never heard of Sleeper, they are an app similar to PrizePicks and a lot of these other DFS pick'em sites on Sleeper, though they do have a multiplier system. So what that means is basically you have a multiplier of maybe like 1.6, 1.7x, and those multipliers change based on whether you take the over or the under on a certain prop. So for example, on Prizepicks, it's a fixed payout. You're getting the same payout regardless of whether you take the over or the under. On Sleeper, that's not the case. The payouts are different based on whether you take the over or the under, and that does allow Sleeper to offer a lot of props that maybe you won't see on Prizepicks. And Sleeper is able to offer props like touchdown props for players you wouldn't see on Prizepicks, and they can offer those props that are really high multiplier, really high payout. So Sleeper is able to put up props and allow people to build entries that give you a really high payout. You can win up to 100x your money over on Sleeper. So if you are one of those people that likes to go for those high payouts, if you like to build those lotto type tickets where you can win 80, 90, 100x, you can do that over on Sleeper. So if you guys don't have an account over on Sleeper, make sure to download their app either on the App Store or Google Play Store. They do have an app for both iPhone and Android. Download their app, use that promo code NOAH when you make your first deposit, and you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 over on Sleeper as well. Be sure to check them out if you guys have not yet. But saw through this game on Prizepicks, some props I'm liking. And we're going to be looking at the fantasy score category. Prizepicks does have their fantasy scores up for this game, and some of these lines look really appealing. Some of these lines I think look a little bit too low. And the first one we're going to talk about here is going to be Tony Pollard's fantasy score, 15.5. I think this line's too low for Tony Pollard. Now, I have taken Tony Pollard's over fantasy score the last two slates, and he's been terrible both games. Against New England, that was a game that the Cowboys won easily. Pollard didn't really get a full workload. I don't even think he played the whole game. And then last week against the 49ers, it was a tough matchup, but the Cowboys went out there and got blown out. Pollard also did not get a full workload in that game. We've really only seen Pollard have a full workload in like 2 games this season, because if you look at his game log this year and if you look at his snaps played, so week 1 against the Giants, that was a game the Cowboys won 40-0. Now Pollard did still get 17 touches in that game, and he still had he had a really good game obviously, but he didn't play a full allotment of snaps. He only played 64% of the snaps in that one. And then their week 2 game against the Jets was another blowout win for the Cowboys. Pollard only played on 64% of the snaps again in that week. Now he did get 32 touches in that game, or 32 touches. So the workload was still good in terms of touches, but he did lose out on some playing time because that game was kind of out of hand. And then their week 3 game against Arizona was that's the one game this season where we've seen Pollard have a full workload. He played 86% of the snaps. That was a competitive game, and it was actually a game the Cowboys lost against Arizona. And then the last 2 weeks, Pollard has not had a full workload because both these games have been blowouts. The Cowboys blew out New England. They beat them 38-3. Pollard only played on 53% of the snaps. And then last week against the 49ers, that was a game where the Cowboys got blown out. Pollard only played on 69% of the snaps and got just 12 touches in that game. So we haven't really seen Pollard fully unleashed yet this season, at least not as of late. Now, weeks 1 and 2, he did get a good amount of touches, but still lost some playing time in those games because of the score. Well, in this game, a game with a 1.5 point spread, we should see Tony Pollard, play a large majority of the snaps here. He probably projects to see 20 plus touches. I'm pretty sure he's averaging over 20 plus opportunities this season, which is rush attempts plus targets. Pollard has always been a very explosive running back. He's a really good fantasy running back. We've seen him be very good whenever he's gotten starts in place of Ezekiel Elliott, the past few seasons. And this season, obviously, he's the number one guy. I mean, Zeke is no longer on the team, so Pollard's going to be the guy getting all the opportunity. And they really don't have any good backups, behind Pollard. They have Rico Dowdle and they have Deuce Vaughn, but neither one of those guys are going to project to see a ton of opportunity here. It's going to be Pollard getting all the carries at running back. He's also going to get a lot of opportunity in the passing game as well. Even if, game script, like if the Cowboys are playing from behind, Pollard will still be out there catching passes. So he just has so much upside for fantasy when he gets all the rush attempts, he gets pass game usage, and he gets all the goal line work as well. Like if the Cowboys get to near the goal line, if they're in the red zone, Pollard's going to be getting all those carries, and obviously his touchdown upside is really high when he's getting a lot of carries in the red zone. So at 15.5 fantasy score, I definitely think this line on Pollard is a little bit too low. And if you kind of look around the industry, you kind of look at some other sites and where they're projecting Pollard. Like I was looking at Sleeper. Sleeper uses the same fantasy score system that Prizepicks does, the same exact scoring chart, and they have Pollard's line set at 17. So they're a point and a half higher. And then also, if you look at like DFS sites around the industry, the DFS site that I specifically subscribe to, they have Pollard projected for almost 20 fantasy points. So they're also way higher on Pollard as well. Feels like Prizepicks has just kind of been under projecting Pollard lately because he's had some down games, but he feels likely to break out at some point. And this is a spot where I think we do finally see a big game from Tony Pollard. Usage is obviously going to be there. Great matchup, great game environment. The Chargers this season against the run, they've been vulnerable. They're giving up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. They are giving up the 9th most receptions, so they've kind of been vulnerable in the passing game. In terms of rushing yards allowed to running backs, they've been the Chargers have been a little bit more towards the bottom there. Like they've been better at stopping the run this season. Last season, the Chargers were really bad at stopping the run. They've been a little bit better this year, but they're still giving up fantasy points to running backs. They're still giving up receptions. They've allowed, they haven't allowed a receiving touchdown yet to running backs, but they have given up 3 rushing touchdowns to running backs. I think the matchup here though is good for Pollard. Usage, volume, that's what we're really betting on as well. And when you got a guy that projects to get 15, 16 carries and 5, 6 targets with 15.5 fantasy score as his line, I feel like that's a little bit too low. So that's going to be the first play we roll with for this game. And then the other play that I like, another fantasy score, we're going to be looking at Josh Palmer's fantasy score of 9.5. And this is another over that I like as well. More than 9.5 fantasy score for Josh Palmer. This line definitely feels too low here. Now, last week, we did see Josh Palmer have a much bigger role in that game against the Raiders. He did go over this line, had 10.7 fantasy points. He had just 3 catches in that game, but he did have 3 catches for 77 yards. So he had a lot of yards last week against the Raiders. But the volume was really good for Palmer. The role was really good. He saw 8 targets in that game. He led the team in playing time. 86% of the snaps played last week for Josh Palmer. And he's getting a lot of opportunity right now without Mike Williams. Mike Williams is done for the season, so Palmer's going to be stepping in as the wide receiver 2 for the Chargers. And this is a Chargers team that loves to throw the ball. They've been a very pass-heavy offense this season. They're going to throw the ball a ton on a weekly basis. I'm pretty sure Justin Herbert's pass attempts line is set at like almost 40 in this game. Like it's set at 36.5. So the books are expecting Justin Herbert to throw the ball 35 plus times here. We know that Justin Herbert's going to target Keenan Allen a lot. We know he's probably going to target Austin Eckler a lot in the passing game as well. But there should be plenty of targets available for Josh Palmer. I think Palmer projects to see at least like 6 to 7 targets here. I was looking at his targets line. That line's actually set at 6 on Prizepicks. I kind of like that over as well. And really, all of Palmer's overs I like here. I mean, they have his receiving yards set at 47.5. That's probably my least favorite. They have his receptions at 3.5. I really like that one. I played that last week and it missed. He had 3 receptions, but I would be fine going right back to it here. But receptions, targets, fantasy score, I think all these lines are a little bit too low on Josh Palmer. He's a talented receiver. He has shown the ability to produce when given opportunity, and he should get a lot of playing time here. Without Mike Williams. I mean, last week he played 86% of the snaps. He's going to be out there for almost every single snap. He's going to be out there running routes. I think last week he ran a route on almost every single one of Justin Herbert's dropbacks. And if you look at last week, I think Herbert only threw the ball like 24 times last week. Like, I'm going to take a look at that real quick. Yeah, Herbert only threw the ball 24 times. So in a game where Herbert only threw the ball 24 times and only had 167 passing yards, we still got over 10 fantasy points from Josh Palmer. This is a game where Herbert is expected to throw the ball 35 plus times, and his pass yards line is set at 279.5. Obviously, Austin Eckler's back, so there's going to be some targets taken away from maybe a guy like Palmer, but there still should be enough opportunity here for Palmer to where he can get us 3, 4, 5 catches for 30, 40, 50 yards. I mean, obviously, at this line of 9.5, we don't need a ton for him to go over this line. If he somehow finds the end zone, if he catches a touchdown, very, very likely he's going to go over this line, but he could go over this line without scoring a touchdown. He did it last week. He had 3 catches for 77 yards. I could see a similar line here, a similar game to that. The only reason I take fantasy score over like receptions or yards is just because last week we saw him not get 4 receptions but still went over fantasy score. Obviously last week he did go over his yards. You could take that too. I like fantasy score the most just because you have more outs with fantasy score. If he catches a touchdown, very likely to go over this line. Even if he doesn't catch a touchdown, he can still go over this line. So that's kind of why I like fantasy score the most there. And the projections that I do use, the DFS projections that I do look at, they have Palmer right now projected for 13 fantasy points. So this line of 9.5 definitely feels a little low on Palmer. I think this line could be bumped. We'll have to see. Do want to mention that Palmer is questionable for this game. That will be something to monitor. He was a full participant in practice all week, and then he popped up on the injury report questionable with a groin injury. If you play this 2-pick entry and Palmer gets ruled out, it'll just be a DNP. We'll get our entry refunded. But definitely keep an eye on that. Palmer's status is up in the air here. I'd assume if he plays, he's going to be full go. Like, I wouldn't worry about him being limited or anything. If you want to wait until we get official confirmation that Palmer's playing before you put this entry in, you can wait. I'd worry about maybe these lines do get bumped. That's why I just go ahead and put him in. And then if Palmer doesn't play, the entry gets refunded, and we'll just move on to the next slate. But these are 2 picks, guys, that I do like for this Monday Night Football game. Chargers and Cowboys should be a really fun one. I'm very excited to watch this game. I think this is going to be one of the better primetime games we've had this season. At least I hope. 51 total. We could get a shootout here. I do like I find myself taking a lot of overs, probably more overs than I probably should take. This definitely feels like a game where you kind of want to be looking to overs more than unders. A lot of these lines on Prizepicks, especially these fantasy score lines, feel a little low compared to kind of where the rest of the industry is. These were definitely the 2 lines that I liked most. But yeah, guys, this is what I got for Monday Night Football tonight. If you guys are going to be tailing me on these 2 plays, wish you the best of luck as always. Appreciate you guys watching the videos, supporting the content. Make sure you guys hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well if you have not yet. And if you are new to the channel, if you have never checked out Prizepicks before, be sure to go sign up for Prizepicks. Use that promo code NOAH. When you do sign up, you will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code. Check them out if you have not yet. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching the video as always, supporting the content. Appreciate you guys a ton. We'll see you in the next one.